All right, guys. So here's what we have going on. Justin Bieber has moved to unfollow Usher. And yes, like I said, this is a very big deal. I'm going to tell you everything that is happening right now. Now, we went over the timeline last week. Okay. Justin was signed when he was just 13 years old. And I should mention he was signed by Usher to a label that was owned jointly by both Scooter Braun and Usher. And he was considered Usher's protege. He has been described Usher as his mentor, which is why his adorable premiere music video that I showed you guys last week entitled One Time, they had created this storyline in which a young Justin Bieber is playing video games with his friends, and Usher calls him and says that he's running late. You know, his big bro Usher calls him, and then Justin Bieber does the teenager thing and throws a party while Usher is out. So take a look at the beginning of that music video now.
Oh, three! That was not luck, that was skill. Yo, I'm killing you. Yo, Usher.
JB, what's up, man?
I'm just playing video games with Ryan.
You think you can hold the house down till I get back?
Yeah, I can do that.
All right, my man.
Yo.
And that's how it starts. And then all of a sudden he has a party. And like I said, you can imagine for a 13-year-old kid, I think he's 14 in the video, what a big deal. You're with Usher, one of the princes of R&B, and now he's your mentor, and you're doing what you love, you're singing songs, and their long relationship has been well documented throughout the media. Most notably, when Justin Bieber and Hailey Bieber got married back in 2019, Usher was on the very short list of invites. So I'm showing you this photo of Usher at Justin Bieber's wedding. You see the date there, September 30th, 2019, the Biebers. He's smiling, he's looking happy. So that means their relationship was great all the way up until 2019. We know that. And by the way, Usher wasn't the only person that was there. So was Scooter Braun. There he is with his ex-wife in the booth with Hailey. They were super close, the four of them. Then something happened, right? Something happened in the background, and people started noticing some things last year. In 2024, you guys will remember that Usher was tapped to perform at the Super Bowl. And people therefore assumed, because usually when you are tapped to perform the Super Bowl, you bring in all your hits, you call up all your homies. There's all of these guest surprises of people jumping on stage, and it's a trip down memory lane. So everyone was really hyped and assuming that Justin Bieber would be on the stage with him, especially because Justin Bieber went to this Super Bowl. And also because Justin Bieber had just performed earlier that same month at the NHL All-Star Game. So the signs were there. But then news began breaking that actually, no, Justin Bieber had snubbed him, that he had turned down Usher. People were wondering if this was true or just, usual rumor mill in the media. But then Usher confirmed it on The Breakfast Club. Kind of seemed like he was trying to make it seem like it wasn't a big deal, that here I am, the mentor, and he turned me down. Here is what Usher said explaining that on The Breakfast Club.
Why didn't things work out with Justin Bieber?
You know what? They did work out with Justin. I honor and recognize that my brother, I think that it might have been the fact that he was just, wanting to tell a different story right now. And I understand that. But we did have a brief conversation, and, we're going to do something else in the future. But there's no love lost or anything like that.
Seems like he's struggling to find words there, doesn't it? He's saying, I think that maybe he's just trying to write a different story. What does that mean? I think that. You've been his mentor for decades. Shouldn't you know that? Almost decades, right? Shouldn't you know the reason why he didn't want to perform with you? Saying that he's trying to write a different story. What does that mean? Clearly, Justin Bieber was already pulling back is what it means. And it's interesting now to speak about Usher Raymond by himself. Who exactly is Usher Raymond? What was his story? Well, I'll tell you, it isn't unlike Justin Bieber's story in the manner in which he too was initiated into the Hollywood industry. Usher Raymond was signed by L.A. Reid, none other than L.A. Reid, when he was just 13 years old. Kind of oddly, the story goes that Bobby Brown's bodyguard, a guy named AJ Alexander, discovered Usher at an audition in Atlanta and then started just bringing him around just everywhere, having him tag along. And then a rep from L.A. Reid's label saw him perform at Star Search. You guys maybe vaguely remember this. Have you ever seen like an old documentary of like Christina Aguilera or Britney Spears? Like all of them did Star Search at some point. It was kind of the talent show. And it was a big deal if you got on it. And after an A&R rep from L.A. Reid's label saw him, he brought him to the top boss, that being L.A. Reid. And the rest was history. Usher got signed, 13 years old. And then he first appeared in a video that was entitled Call Me Mac, a song that was written by Usher himself, which was released in 1993 as the soundtrack, one of the soundtracks rather, for the film Poetic Justice. So I'm going to show you just a little small clip of his Call Me Mac premiere video. I'm just disturbed by that line. I may be young, but I got a whole lot of man in me within like gyrating his hips. I don't know if just my entire perspective of all of this has changed now that I'm a mother and I'm in my 30s. This stuff when I saw when I was young, I was like, so cool. It's so cool. Anyways, what went along with that is he released his first album a year later in 1994. He was just 15 years old, but he really became a household name with his sophomore album, My Way. This was stuff that was blaring in my household when I was young, which was released in 1997. And listen, he just became a very big deal in the R&B world. There's no question about it. And so now we are presented with this picture of Justin Bieber unfollowing him. We can probably assume that there was some friction, which was established in 2024, which made him not want to perform with him in 2000 at the Super Bowl. And we have to ask ourselves, what was that friction about? And of course, many people, I believe, are accurately assuming that this has something to do, one element has to do with the Diddy lawsuit. A lot of revelations were made in the Diddy lawsuit. So I'm going to start this by saying allegedly. Okay, obviously, he has not yet been convicted of everything, but I knew that he was going to get arrested because after reading through this lawsuit, there were just so many pictures, way too many descriptions. He had hours of video footage proving his claims. I'm referring to the person who initially filed this, Rodney Lil Rod, a producer who went into great detail, laborious effort to basically describe almost a homosexual ring in which people were being drugged at various Diddy parties. But he describes how essentially him being a young producer, they tried to initiate him into homosexuality. And I'm going to read this directly from a lawsuit. It says, quote, Mr. Combs, that's Diddy, used access to Stevie J and his knowledge that the producer, Mr. Jones, admired Stevie J to groom and enticed Mr. Jones to engage in homosexuality. Mr. Combs went so far as to share a video of Stevie J. I am now redacting this so that we stay YouTube safe. It is a graphic video. This was done to ease Mr. Jones's, again, that's the producer, anxiety concerning homosexual acts. According to Mr. Combs, quote, this is a normal practice in the music industry. Look, even Stevie J is doing it, he said as he showed him this video. Mr. Combs informed Mr. Jones that he had engaged in sexual intercourse with rapper, redacted, R&B singer, redacted, and Stevie J. So that is Diddy saying, these are these other artists I have slept with. This is totally normal for you to do this. It's okay. Lighten up. This is going to be totally fine. Watch this footage that I have everybody else doing. This is just what we do in the industry. But then there's a footnote in the filing, right? Because the names are redacted. And in the footnote, it reads that regarding the R&B singer that Diddy allegedly slept with, he performed at the Super Bowl and had a successful Vegas residency. So let's let people know that very clearly the name that was redacted had to have been Usher, because it was Usher who recently performed at the Super Bowl, and it was Usher at the time of this filing who had just had a very successful Vegas residency. And we also knew that Usher and Diddy themselves had a relationship, a long relationship. Now, why is this important? It's important because we know that Usher, when he was very young, was handed over to Diddy. He was literally handed over to Diddy to live with him for a short period of time. Don't take my word for it. You can listen to Usher in his own words discussing that time period in his life with none other than Howard Stern. Take a listen.
I moved to New York City, and I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you
New
over
York
to
City.
something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn
Flavor Camp.
Yeah,
Flavor
that's what it
Camp.
was called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
In
to
the 90s, do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and orgying like nonstop, right?
No, not really. I
Come
mean,
on.
but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you
I
seeing?
went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild. It was,
So
it was
nobody
crazy.
tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I ain't say that.
Okay.
I didn't
But
say
you
that. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place. And I didn't necessarily understand it.
Biggie Smalls was there.
Biggie Smalls was there, Lil' Kim, Craig Mack.
All these people are hanging around.
Yeah, man. Faith Evans,
And your parents
Jodeci,
were
Mary J.
okay?
Blige. They didn't know nothing about this shit.
Oh.
I was having a good time. You know what I mean?
Does he have you doing any chores? Are you doing dishes at all? I mean, to keep you humble somewhat? Or are you just like, can you stay up till 4 a.m. with them and party?
I mean, I could. I actually stayed up longer than them.
And what kind, do you have money? What's going on?
I mean, I had like per diem.
Yeah.
I had like,
What
like
a
a living.
life.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy Camp?
Hell no.
See?
The answer at the end. You're a dad now. Would you ever send him to Puffy Camp? No. Of course I would not do that. The things that you witnessed, you staying up until 4 a.m. at these Diddy parties. And they're laughing. I love that. It makes it's even more special because it's Howard Stern that's contributing to this conversation. And obviously Howard Stern is completely mental about Trump, about horrible Trump is this and that. And he's laughing about Diddy parties and learning that there's a 13-year-old kid there witnessing what he describes as orgies. Like Howard Stern said, there was orgies. Were you there? Did you see this? And they're laughing at this, right? Usher certainly knew what went down at Diddy parties, is the point that I'm making, okay? All of Hollywood knew what went down at Diddy parties. We could show you clip after clip after clip of them all mocking and laughing about everything that happened at Diddy's place. So when Usher signed and became a quote unquote mentor to Justin Bieber, why didn't he mentor him against going to Diddy's house? Wouldn't that be a nice thing for your mentor and your friend to do? Why is it beginning to feel like everything that Kanye West told us about Hollywood might be true? That you have these young, talented people who are essentially being adopted and initiated when they are vulnerable into a very dark and demonic cult, okay? Why is it beginning to feel like once they age and they're a part of it, they then find someone young and they get them initiated into it? They find the talent and they initiate them into this sort of a cult. Now, I will admit, as a friend of Ye, that I thought he was completely paranoid and crazy when he kept telling me that everyone around him was an op. He used to say that. He used to say, this person's an op, this person's an op, this person's an op. Like, like as if he was accusing them all of being feds. He even at one point questioned me when I was asking him questions and everything was coming down. He's like, are you an op? I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't know anybody in Hollywood. Obviously, I'm not an op. And I thought these were just, again, paranoid delusions. But now I have a very different perspective on this. I have an understanding of what Kanye went through to get out, right? To basically sell everything, give his designs, end his marriage. Because when you leave a cult, of course, it's not easy. They try to destroy you. They try to Sigmund Freud you. They try to gaslight you. They try to call you crazy, express concern, fake friends. They even put pressure on your family. Oh man, you just need some rest. You're just going crazy. Hey, you know what? I'm your friend. I've always been your friend. We don't want this to happen to you. And then when you say, no, I'm done with this, then come all of the headlines. Then come the headlines about Hailey Bieber spending all of Justin's money. Why did he sell his catalog? Is he going to go broke? Friends are concerned. They're concerned because he's unfollowing people. Oh my God, he must be having a mental breakdown. Look, guys, it is clear that Justin Bieber wants out. He probably can't even speak out because of incredibly complicated contracts. You know who also warned about that? A certain Mr. Kanye West. Take a listen.
We can't just say, oh, it's okay for people to like super complicate deals and to collude on deals and to not look at us as human beings, as artists and athletes and actors, that we have to be willing to like stand up for that to be able to change something. And we need to come together as a society to be the first civilization that actually became civil.
But despite these super complicated contracts, people not being able to speak out, people being fearful, people being threatened, people being told and gaslit in the media when they're just saying something, trying to say that something bad happened to me, that I am being treated badly. Despite this, we are seeing that people are brave and people are learning ways to work around them. Young artists are somehow working around these super complicated deals. I mean, saying a lot with something as simple as an unfollow. So that is what Brett Cooper did, by the way, recently. Everyone's speculating. A couple of unfollows will let you know what's really going on. Maybe not fully, but kind of giving you an idea. And to see Justin Bieber doing this, he is signaling hard right now that things behind the scenes are not okay. Thus far, he has unfollowed Scooter Braun, his former manager, who he fired in 2022. He's unfollowed Allison Kay, his former manager from SB Projects. He's unfollowed Kenny Hamilton, who was his former bodyguard, which I believe Justin Bieber's mom wrote in her first book that Kenny Hamilton came from, was a very close friend of Scooter Braun. And so that's how he became his bodyguard. Ryan Good, who was the singer's former swag coach. He's been around since 2009. He was even the best man at Justin's wedding. Unfollowed. A Pooh Bear, who's some songwriter and producer that he worked with on his albums. Unfollowed. And you know what I can say after all of this? Justin Bieber, he's going to be absolutely fine. He is going to be so fine. I'm telling you guys, pray for him. He's obviously very strong right now. To be going through this, to not have his voice, despite giving his voice as his talent for such a long time, from the time that he was a kid, the time that he was 13 years old. But he's going to be okay because first and foremost, he has faith. Okay. He also now has a son, which I believe is motivating this. I think the birth of Jack Blues Bieber was the beginning of the end of Justin Bieber's time in Hollywood Babylon. It is the power of family, and we are witnessing the power of faith. And to that, I say, Justin Bieber, keep going. The world is behind you. We cannot wait until you find your voice again. Christ is King.